Hello, it is July 11th, 2026, and it is right now 6:53 p.m. So basically, I wanted to talk about a few things. I know what the other side strategy is going to be like right now, what they're going to try to do, and I have to counteract that strategy and let everyone know what the truth is about that. So last night was July 10th, and on the night of July 10th, what happened was I had to go meet with both I had to go pick up my mother, and there were two incidents that basically occurred last night, July 10th. I left around 7:30, and you had Junaid coming out of his house to show his face around me. Law enforcement informed him exactly about the time that I'd be around his house to go pick up my mother from my sister's house, and so Junaid came out exactly at that time to make sure that he could be seen in video on my car video thing that I have on my car. I had already said this was going to happen before I had even left, and it happened exactly as I said it would. Not only that, we had another person doing the exact same thing. The spokesperson, the Greedy Framer spokesperson named Ibrahim, he was doing the exact same thing, same night, same time when I was coming back. So 7:30 p.m., July 10th, I left for my sister's house. I went to go pick up my mother. Before I left, I had already told law enforcement that Junaid was going to come out and he's going to show his face in front of my car video camera to try to show the girls and women, oh, look at this guy, such a nice guy, Junaid. And then you had same night, same time, I'm coming back from picking up my mother. You have Greedy Framer spokesperson Ibrahim waiting at the mother's grill right on Greenside Drive, waiting for me to go pass by it so that he could come out and aggressively get right in front of my car so that law enforcement could be like, oh, look at this really nice guy, Ibrahim, such a nice guy. You should totally sleep with him. The thing about it is, when I was going over to go pick up my mother last night, July 10th, around 7:30 p.m., everyone looked like they were crying. The reason they were all looking like they were crying was mainly due to the fact that the spokesperson, the Greedy Framer spokesperson, Ibrahim, was getting rejected by a woman his mother's age that he did not even know, an elementary school teacher of mine that he kept begging to sleep with him, basically. And then just like how Junaid was waiting at his house for the exact moment for law enforcement to tell him, the exact moment for him to come out so he could be seen in my car video camera, Ibrahim was waiting at the mother's grill. I just laugh every time because the irony, I'll let you know, for me to pass by that grill on Greenside Drive for him to come up in front of my car video camera. Yeah, so that law enforcement could be like, look at this guy, so nice, such a nice guy, you should totally sleep with him. Basically, these people were running scams on a woman, an older woman, yeah, basically it's happened before where law enforcement would tell these girls about Junaid that he was a CEO and this and that, and then he would just make up these stories to the girl like, I didn't want to tell anyone, but now that everyone found out, I have to tell them that I am the CEO, stuff like that. Like basically all completely made up, like one lie made up, and the stories being added to that lie were absolutely hilarious. Now you can check the facts and evidences on this. I'm not just making these things up. And then Junaid would tell the girls like, I didn't want to tell them. But now that they know, I guess I will have to, that I'm a CEO. And then what happened was when someone told the girls that he's not a CEO, he gets paid the exact same thing my sister gets paid, and he does the exact same work my sister works. And the only difference is that he loses his job literally every single year, where he almost gave up and got an early retirement at one time, and his mother had to convince him to not do so. I know this for a fact because his mother was baking cookies for my sister every single day like crazy, and I knew that this was what was going on. My mother told me, she was like, every single day she comes over, bakes cookies for her, and she's just like, oh wow, thank you. And I was just like, yeah, he's getting an early retirement is what's going on. And I'm pretty sure like yeah, so when the girls found out that the girl found out that he wasn't a CEO, he got paid the exact same amount my sister did the exact same job. Basically Yeah, all those stories went down the drain. Like I wasn't gonna tell anyone, but now that they know, I guess I'll have to tell them that I'm a CEO. And these stories all had to go down the drain. Yeah, so basically that is what happened. And so what Junaid does in following that is he tells the girls everything before the other person can. It's basically paranoia that a person has out of fear that they're going to lose sex or something of that sort of nature. I'll give you another example for paranoia in a second. So basically, Junaid tells the girl, he's like, all right, fine, so I'm not a CEO. And the other thing you have to know about me is also the fact that I'm getting into fights at work every single day, and I'm probably going to quit this job like I lose my job every single year, and I'm probably going to have to go get another one. Like, all these facts and truths started coming out of his own mouth to the girl. Why does Junaid do this? He's scared that the other person who told her about him not being a CEO might, and he wants to tell her before even he does. Yeah, and so he does that to try to say it in his own way. That way, the other person can say it, and the chances of him getting this girl to stop sleeping with him would be lower. And then, yeah, pretty much. And I'm pretty sure he's trying to get an early retirement this year too. And then you have the other person, same night, July 10th, yesterday. So one was at around like 8 p.m. Junaid came out exactly at 8 p.m. Law enforcement told him exactly the time to come out so he could be seen in my car video camera. And then the other weirdo, Ibrahim, the Greedy Framer spokesperson, comes out exactly around, I think it was like 8:45 p.m. I was coming home. He's waiting at the mother's girl. The irony over here, I have to tell you now what the irony is. The irony is the Greedy Framer spokesperson, Ibrahim, is waiting at the mother's girl after getting rejected by a woman his mother's age. What a nice place to go wait at. There's a specific term for people like this. I do not want to use it on video. So he's waiting at the mother's girl after getting rejected by a woman his mother's age. For the exact moment when my car would pass by the mother's girl on Greenside Drive for him to basically come in front of me right when law enforcement would tell him. The man has the words drug addict written all over him. Forget sex addict, he has the words drug addict written all over him. And he is mainly one of the reasons that his mother is so envious of me. And she told the government informant everything about how she was so envious of me and that she could not see my brain savant freed at any cost, due to which, after she found out that who the government informant was, she started to try to get me to marry her daughter, Ibrahim's own sister. She tried it on March 9th, 3 times, sending me through law enforcement a picture of a girl resembling her own daughter, Ibrahim's sister, March 9th at 5:02 a.m., March 9th at 6:55 a.m., then again on March 9th at 12:02 p.m. And then Ibrahim's sister, they tried to get me to marry her again, April 12th, so this is March 9th, 2026. Just a couple months ago. Then April 12th, 2026, 1:37 a.m., picture of a girl resembling Ibrahim's sister, this Greedy Framer spokesperson's sister, is sent to me again to try to get me to marry her. Why are they doing this? Mainly because they realized who the government informant was, and they'd already told the government informant that they were extremely envious of me and my brain savant, and could not stand the fact that I had this, and their son is literally acting like a drug addict, waiting at the mother's girl after getting rejected by a woman his mother's age to come in front of me, in front of my car video camera, to show himself there. So basically, then they start sending me these price tag blackmails by the spokesperson's Greedy Framer mother, only because she realized who the government informant was, and she knows that she told the government informant that I'm doing all of this due to extreme envy of his brain savant and the monetary potential for it. So she starts blackmailing me with illegal price tags of money and mansions, and I have to mention this one right here. A price tag blackmail of 15-acre Florida mansion, March 8th, on at 3:59 a.m. I really like this one because there's a story behind it. A couple of days ago, I was thinking about like things are not going that bad, and I should. There are a lot of people that know about my Brain Savant locked up, and they just did a test on June 24th, due to which I was really hopeful that they would let my Brain Savant go because so many people know about it, and people would probably say that, hey, look, this hasn't happened since the slavery era of American history, and these people in law enforcement are absolutely guilty of being racist. They've been making false testimonies against him, with a 10-year-old child claiming 25 years later in mid-January 2026 that I said anti-government things to him when I was a 10-year-old child. You heard that right. All of it fully fabricated by law enforcement themselves. They even so the Bubba Wallace incident occurred in June 2020. That ended up not being true, but afterwards law enforcement got an idea, and they would put up nooses on my YouTube to try to signify lynching, to try to tell me that they're going to lynch me, only because they thought that they were the only ones watching. There were good people in there too, and the good people are definitely going to be witnesses to this fact. So all of these things occurred, and Greedy Framer spokesperson Ibrahim's mother was also sending me blackmail price tags of money, mainly in millions of dollars. Mainly their favorite one from her and for the Greedy Framer was $60 million. That came to me at least 8 times starting February 21st at 8:18 p.m. Yeah, so basically these are the kind of things that happened. Now after yesterday, the things that happened yesterday were these people trying to come up in front of me and behind me to try to humiliate and embarrass me. These people, basically what they're going to do is the same person in law enforcement overseas who got the money from the money scam. So you got to remember, there was a money fraud that was going on where law enforcement over here would meet up with their BFFs, and they would basically run unemployment disability fraud since no one gives their own money. Law enforcement would teach them how to go and file disability. They will try to do disability, they will get rejected. Suddenly the next day they're not disabled anymore and they're running unemployment. That unemployment money law enforcement would then take and say, you take some, we keep some, and then law enforcement would tell that person the bank account number, the wire transfer number, phone numbers, contact info for the person they wanted the money to be sent to overseas. That person is the same person around my overseas pharmacy school who fabricated the entire group chat false testimony against me for right near my overseas pharmacy school. And I've been trying to tell the government since day one, you have to stop this money. You have to stop this money. If they're still sending the money, it's from the savings of the fraud that occurred, and the person's only sending it out of hope that as soon as this case ends, he maintains his BFF-ship with law enforcement, and then he gets his benefits from them, since they're the law of the land apparently. And then what he does is he runs the fraud again, and you have to stop this. Like the government, like I don't know what they did or didn't do, but yeah, I've been saying this for a long time, very long time, and they've been totally deaf and dumb about it. And so that same person in law enforcement who receives that money is the person who fabricated the group chat against me through a student from my overseas pharmacy school. And that person basically gave it to law enforcement, and law enforcement basically used that and tried to frame me with it. Same exact person I've been telling the government about. You have to watch this person. He's committing fraud through law enforcement over here. He gets money every month. He's not supposed to be getting it. So basically, yeah, and hopefully they turned this off by now. So basically, that is what was going on. And so it went from one student. So basically that person in law enforcement went to a student in my overseas pharmacy school and said, I'm going to give you a group chat false testimony. You probably whispered into his ears that all you have to do is say that you gave me a group chat false testimony, and that Asan gave it to you, and that's all you have to do. And then the student from my overseas pharmacy school probably just whispered back into his ears like, yeah, I'll do that. And basically the group chat false testimony was a complete total fabrication, that same person in law enforcement who receives the money from the bogus unemployment disability fraud fabricated for law enforcement over here, where obviously it had nothing to do with me, and the person that he claimed gave it to him after I gave it to him. I gave it to another student in overseas pharmacy school, and that student gave it to law enforcement, the same person who receives the money every month from the bogus unemployment disability fraud. And that person who receives that money in law enforcement overseas gave it to law enforcement over here, when in fact the facts came out, and the fact came out that overseas pharmacy school student that claimed that I gave it to him had nothing to do with that, or group chat false testimony, since it had absolutely nothing to do with either me or that overseas pharmacy school student. Neither one of us. That group chat false testimony had absolutely nothing to do with me or that overseas pharmacy school student. And that student was lying when he was saying that he gave it to law enforcement, when in fact law enforcement told him to keep his mouth shut about it and just claimed that he gave it to law enforcement, when in fact law enforcement fabricated the entire thing, used his name to say that that student gave it to law enforcement, and that I gave it to that student in my overseas pharmacy school. Complete total lie and fabrication that they fully fabricated, and the person fabricating it was the same person in law enforcement overseas who receives the monthly money from the bogus unemployment disability fraud that goes from law enforcement's BFFs in the U.S. that law enforcement met with, gave phone numbers, bank account numbers, wire transfer numbers, account numbers, every single thing to have that money transferred to him. Now, the thing that I have to talk about is the fact that that same person in overseas who received the money, the bogus unemployment disability money every single month that was wires transferred to him, he is going to obviously go to other students in my overseas pharmacy school to try to humiliate me and have them say things like, Ehsan asked me out one time and I said no. And then he's going to get like 5-6 girls to just sit there and they'll be just like, Ehsan asked me out one time too. And I said no too. Like, there's going to be absolutely no evidence of me ever talking to these girls, either in person or on text messages or online at all. Not one bit, not once, not at all. There will be no evidence of me ever talking to these girls in person, ever. Not once, not at all, not at all. Despite me being watched 24/7 the entire time. What are the chances this person in law enforcement who hates me so much and whose money I was trying to cut off would watch me 24/7 while I was in my overseas pharmacy school, see that I got rejected by a girl, and not record this and to try to use it to try to make fun of me? What are the chances he wouldn't do that at that time? When he had my brain savant locked up completely at that time and was drugging me with amnesia drugs every time I would try to study or give my pharmacy school finals, which they confessed to using on me in the biochem exam, very last one that I said that they used on me, as well as numerous other pharmacy school finals that they used these amnesia drugs on me while I was studying and while I was giving my pharmacy school finals. Clearly showing through facts and evidences from their own confession in court that they used these amnesia drugs on me while I was studying and giving my pharmacy school finals. What are the chances that this person in law enforcement, who was so envious of me, he couldn't see me studying, using extreme amounts of amnesia drugs that he confessed in court that he used against me, what are the chances that he was so envious of me that he had my brain savant locked up to the point that it could not even be unlocked for a minute? You got to remember, all the brain savant tests were done for a minute. And in that 1 minute time period, I knew that I had a brain savant that was extremely powerful, that I did not know about throughout the entire time I was in my overseas pharmacy school, because they had it locked up the entire time. What are the chances that a person who was making sure that it could not be unlocked for 1 minute would actually miss out on a girl rejecting me brutally and then not make fun of me, not record that video, not have it shared at all, not one bit? What are the chances? Absolutely none, right? Yeah. There, except for that, obviously I was being watched 24/7 for them to lock up my brain savant, for them to claim that they used extreme amnesia drugs on me while I was in my overseas pharmacy school. What are the chances that they had my brain savant locked up and using severe amnesia drugs on me when I was studying for my pharmacy school finals, amnesia drugs on me to force me to fail my pharmacy school finals by using it in the exam room itself? What are the chances that these people missed out on a girl rejecting me and didn't record that video to try to make fun of me with it? Absolutely none whatsoever. And if it was a text message or online chat or a phone call, they would definitely record it to try to make fun of me with it, to try to harass me with it. Obviously they would do that. They would not miss out on it. They would never let that video go. Obviously not. This entire group chat was completely fabricated. What are the chances they would miss out on that? Absolutely none. They're just fabricating right now. using hearsay, he said, she said, and it's obviously completely false and fabricated. These girls are lying. We know they're lying due to the fact that if anything like that happened, the same person in law enforcement who was enviously using amnesia drugs on me at that time would, while I was trying to study, and at that time when I was giving my pharmacy school finals, would have recorded it and used it against me, or had that text message or online chat recorded and used it against me. But there's no evidence of any such thing, despite me being watched 24/7 at that time. No evidence of me even talking to these girls at all whatsoever, just because I took pictures with them. I took pictures with every single person in my overseas pharmacy school class. Does not mean I even knew any of them. Okay, yeah, so basically he would get these people, and then they would just they'll just be like, he asked me out. I have a picture with him. I have a picture with every single person in my overseas pharmacy school class. It does not mean that I even knew them, and you know this from facts and evidences, because there's absolutely no record of me talking to them either in person, on text, or in any other way, shape, or form, phone conversations, anything at all. What are the chances that this same person who's using extreme amnesia drugs on me would miss out on me getting rejected and not use that against me? Absolutely none whatsoever, right? He's not going to miss out on that. He's never going to let that video go, obviously, to try to make fun of me. These are all lies and tactics that they're using against me, and they've done it before. So the overseas pharmacy school student would be in their group of friends, and this person from overseas pharmacy school in law enforcement who gets the money every single month, whom I'm hoping the government ended the bogus unemployment disability fraud that he was running from over there to from over here, where the money would go from here to there to him through law enforcement over here. Yeah. Basically, he went to other girls in that class, and he just had them say these things about me to try to embarrass and humiliate me about it. And that's all there is to it. There's no facts and evidences around this whatsoever, despite me being watched 24/7 at that time. And we know for a fact that this person in law enforcement who had these girls say, he asked me out, he asked me out, he asked me out, like 5, 6 different girls saying this. There's absolutely no evidence of this, either on phone call, text messages, phone conversations, in person talking, even though if it had occurred, he would not let it go. We know this for a fact due to the fact that they basically saved up everything. Throughout my entire life, I've only gotten pissed off and angry one time in my entire life. It was when I was in my overseas pharmacy school. What happened was, law enforcement's a witness to this fact. What basically happened was, throughout my entire life, I've never gotten angry. I was overseas, and my mother at that time was working at a Food Line grocery store, and she would basically just send me money at that time she wasn't, and it was like the starting, and I had like $800 that I took with me, and it was just kind of like, if I would go somewhere with like a person in my overseas pharmacy school class, and obviously his dad's like earning rupees money, and I'm buying like fried chicken, and the fried chicken, let's say, is like 30 cents. All right, so let me just explain it for a second. 30 cents because it's a different currency. Okay, fried chicken will be 30 cents over there, mainly because if they have it $3, then no one's going to be able to afford to buy it. So it's going to be 30 cents over there. So if I'm going with an overseas pharmacy school student, another person with me at a restaurant, and we're buying fried chicken, and it's 30 cents for a person, 30 cents for him, 30 cents for me. His dad's earning money in rupees, and he's not that rich since he's in pharmacy, and not like, if he was rich, he'd be doing medicine instead of pharmacy, and it's like that, you know. So like he'd be doing an MD over there instead of a PharmD. So basically, yeah. So his dad's not earning that much money. I go with him to, let's say, get fried chicken with him outside. I had $800 that I took with me that I earned from working at Home Depot after buying up my car that I left behind for my sister. I go out with him. I have $800 saved up, and fried chicken's 30 cents. 30 cents for me, 30 cents for him. Am I gonna make him pay 30 cents from his dad's money, which is basically like $30 for him in that currency? It would be like him paying $30. Am I gonna make him pay $30 when it's 30 cents for me? No, obviously not. So if I would go out eat with him, I'm not gonna have him pay 30 cents. I mean $30, because it's gonna be $30 for him in that currency. It's gonna hold the same amount of weight for him on his shoulders, because his dad's earning money in rupees, and his dad's not that rich. Or else, if his dad was rich, he'd be doing MD, which he told me himself his dad was not that rich. And I have $800 that I took with me that I earned from Home Depot. Make him pay $30 when it's 30 cents for me? Obviously not. So I would pay the 30 cents for me, and I'd pay the 30 cents for him. Be like, it's okay, man, I'll pay your 30 cents. And then we'd both have fried chicken together. So that pretty much did not affect my money at all. But eventually, obviously, the money runs out, mainly because if you're going to school, you have to go to the photo state shop, which is the stationery store. You have to go to the stationery store. As law enforcement was witness at that time, I had to go every single day. It's not an option. I can't just not go there. So after school, every single day after I would come back home, there's a stationery store right near my house. I have to go there every single day. The reason is one person in class gets their notes from the stationery store at school, and she gives it to me to borrow for one day, and I take it home and I give it to the stationery store near my house, and they copy it while I go back home and I take a nap, and I go back and I get it. So I have to go to the stationery store every single day, and it costs me a lot of money. Law enforcement is a witness to this fact. I had to go to the stationery store every single day. It's not an option during pharmacy school. Get it photocopied and then give it back to her the next day. So these things cost money. Not the 30 cents I paid for his fried chicken, but these things definitely do cost money. Not even transportation, and transportation and buses over there is pretty cheap. But photo state shop, the stationery store, definitely was expensive. Getting your notes photocopied every single day was not cheap, and it ran out the money pretty quickly, along with, I guess, food did as well. So afterwards, it was just kind of like, I had no money. My mother's working at Food Line. I'm not going to ask her for money. And what happened was, well, at least not at that time. What happened was my stepmother, to try to get me to leave the country and quit school, she would add acid to my clothes. At first, she wouldn't let it go through the laundry, due to which my clothes were really stinky and they had my sweat all over it. And so what happened was I developed ringworm infection, and law enforcement's witness to this fact. And then on top of that, my stepmother started adding acid to my clothes to try to clothes that are already dirty, by going in my closet and adding acid to it, so that my body would burn out in the heat while I'd be at school, to try to abuse me, so that I would basically quit school and go back home. I'm going through all this abuse, and then on top of that, my stepmother would basically just not give me any food, and she would just be like, we're not animals. We eat the same things you eat, okay? Just grab some food from the fridge and eat it. And the food in the fridge was basically, it's like serfdom over there. There are these really poor people that live in huts, and they work in people's houses. They're not maids. It's basically serfdom, because their pay is like really less. Even in their currency, it's really less. They're getting paid like $30 a month, and even in their currency, it's really less. And they basically live in huts, and they go work in people's houses. She would give this food, like the leftover food, like really, and even the leftover was like really less, to these people that were working at her house. And she would pretend like she was eating that food, even though she wasn't, and she just wanted me to survive on it, basically get so sick and tired that I would quit school, go back home. And I didn't do that. And I knew for a fact she was getting food from outside, really good food from fast food restaurants and things of that sort, restaurants right outside the house. She would get food from outside the house, from restaurants and stuff. She had a big purse. She would put it all inside of her purse. She would take it to her room, and like she would her and her kids would have it, and then she'd lock it up in her closet, and then that's how they would live. And they would basically give me the food that was like put aside for like the serfs over there, that were getting paid like pretty much $30 a month. Along with that, I had to deal with the abuse of having acid added to my clothes, and my clothes not being clean, to the point that I developed ringworm infection. And I couldn't tell these things to my mother because she was really poor. She worked at Food Line grocery store, and she would just get depressed over it, and she would just be like, "Come back home now." And so I didn't tell it to her, but I had already dreamt a dream, and I wanted that Farm D at any cost, even if I had to sleep on the streets or go through months with very little food. So basically, I was getting abused at home really badly, and there were these kids that were picking on me on the bus. And what happened was, obviously I got really really angry because my entire clothes were drenched in sweat, and they were really really dirty from not being cleaned for months, due to which I had ringworm infection, and on top of that my entire body was burning due to having acid added to those clothes. And I knew for a fact that when I would go home I wouldn't have any food. Instead I would be given the food that were basically put aside for the serfs. They're not maids, they're serfs, and they're badly mistreated over there as well. And then my stepmother would basically take the food from like restaurants and fast food restaurants outside, put it in her big purse, take it to her room, and basically lock it up in her closet for herself and her kids. And they would not like even put it in the fridge. And then the next day they would just get some more food. And what she would do is just put the trash back in her purse, go outside and trash it outside on the streets on her way out at nighttime or some other time when she'd be going out with her kids. And I'd get the food that were put aside for the serfs. That's how badly I was treated, and law enforcement is a witness to all of this. And on top of that, I was going home, I was drenched in sweat, I had a long day at school, and these kids were picking on me. I got really really angry at them because I knew for a fact I was going to go home and I wasn't going to have any food that day or the next day. And literally I had to go like that for days afterwards before I asked my mother for some money. So that incident where I got angry at someone, law enforcement basically recorded it, and they showed it in court as me being an aggressive and angry person. Despite them knowing the entire story behind it, they never told the entire story. They were witnesses to everything that was going on at home, and they never said anything about what was going on at home, or the fact that I couldn't even speak out at home, or else I'd get kicked out of the house, and I only had a roof over my head. And my mother later on, she didn't find out, like I didn't tell her everything, but like I was just like, "Hey, look, I don't have any money for food, like can you just send me some money?" So my mother would, like in the start, she would send me like $100, and most of it obviously would go to the stationery store, not buses. Buses are really cheap over there, and a lot of it would go for food, a lot of it would go for a stationery store, because no photo shop, like the notes getting copied every day is expensive. You have tons of notes, and you have to have it copied like every single day. And I'd have to go to the stationery store every single day from right near my house after taking the notes, borrowing it from someone in class, and getting that copied every day. So yeah, I was going through all this abuse. Law enforcement basically recorded me getting angry at someone on the bus who was harassing me and picking on me, despite not telling the entire story of the abuse that I was going through at home, and the fact that I was going to go home, get the same food that the serfs were getting, while knowing that people at home at that time were eating like kings in their own room. And she would like take food in her own room, and she knew my mother was working at a Food Line grocery store and I didn't have any money. She didn't care. This was the kind of abuse that I was going through, only to force me to quit school and go back home, which I never did. My mother ended up giving me like $100 a month in the start while working at a Food Line grocery store. And what I did was, one day I was at pharmacy school and I saw someone. He looked like he was really desperate, but not desperate for like money or something. He was desperate for someone to tutor him. He failed a lot. And so obviously I was really good at studying. I went to the stationery store every single day, and law enforcement is a witness to the fact that I studied every single day before going to sleep, and I went to the stationery store every single day. Despite what they might try to make me look like. So basically I was really good at studying, and I was good at teaching too, obviously, because if I'm good at studying. They never let me study using amnesia drugs that they confessed in court themselves that they used on me while I was studying and while I was giving my overseas pharmacy school finals, both in the exam room itself, just to force me to fail. They confessed for the biochem exam that I gave last. They also confessed that they used it in numerous other exams, making a miracle that I even have a Farm D with 0 loans. So basically I would go to his house, and let me start from the starting. So basically I saw this one student. He was like really desperate. He failed a lot of exams, and he was asking people if they could tutor him. So I just went up to him. I was like, "Look, I can tutor you. And he was like, all right, fine, you can do it. I was like, yeah. I asked him for his address. It wasn't that far from the place where I lived. I was like, I can go there. He was like, all right, fine. I was like, but I need something in return. He's like, anything you want, whatever you want. I was like, I want food. I want food in return. I want whatever you cook at home. And that's all I want. And I told him straight out, I was like, this is all I want. I'll take food, and I'll tutor you instead, and I'll tutor you pharmacology. And he was like, that's what I need. I was like, all right, fine. Just sign up for the classes that I have that I'm giving, that are in my classes, those courses, and I'll tutor you pharmacology mainly. And he was like, yeah. And he was like, and he was even like, why don't you come over to my house today? And he was like, I'll give you food today, and you can tutor me. I was like, all right, fine. So I went to his house that same day. They have these different points that are called buses that leave from the school. Basically, what happens is each bus goes to a different location, so you could get in. They're all inside the school. The school owns those buses, and the buses come in the morning and they just stay there at the school, and the buses leave in the afternoon. So the trick I played was, instead of leaving in the bus for my house, I left in the bus for his house with him. So it basically didn't cost me any money to go to his house. So yeah, so I just went over to his house, and he just gave me food, and I tutor him instead. And yeah, that's how pretty much that's how I got food in school, and that's how things went about. The thing that I have to say is that one incident throughout my entire life, when I actually got angry, law enforcement knows the entire story behind it, and they're not telling you the entire story. And they recorded it, and they would keep playing it over and over and over and over and over again. He got angry. He's aggressive. What they're not saying is my clothes were drenched in sweat. They were completely dirty from not being washed for months. I had ringworm infection all over my body. Those clothes also had acid in them. I was going to go home, get the same food that serfs get, and while everyone else at home was eating like kings inside their own room, and their food was being locked up in the closet. All of these things witnessed by law enforcement, and they're not telling the entire story. They recorded one video of me getting angry at someone on my bus while I was being picked on, while knowing that my mother did not have the money to send it to me, and they're using that video against me over and over and over again just to try to show that I'm aggressive. That one incident throughout my entire life of me to try to say that I'm aggressive, despite knowing the entire story of what was going on at home. They're not telling the entire story. What are the chances that law enforcement would have these girls rejecting me, and not one incident from any of these girls showing in court with video of me being rejected by these girls? And yet these girls remember this now, literally a day after these weirdos like Ibrahim and Junaid were standing behind and ahead of my car camera after law enforcement called them and told them the exact moment to go stand outside to be seen there so they could run after these women. What are the chances that these girls suddenly remember this today, after talking to law enforcement for months in the past while this court case was going on, never mentioning it before, suddenly remembering it today, there being absolutely no record of any of this, despite me being watched throughout the entire time? And on top of that, that one incident throughout my entire life when I got angry, they have that recorded to be shown in court, but they don't have any of this embarrassing info against me. What are the chances of that? Absolutely zero. These people are lying. They lied before from my elementary school. They had people from my elementary school claim things about me that weren't true. Every single person. And then what they did was they took one of those people from the elementary school. They told him exactly what to say. This time they got caught. And they told him exactly what to say, and that's one person from the elementary school showed the courts exactly how they fabricated the entire bunch. And that one person testified in mid-January 2026, claiming that 25 years ago, when I was a 10-year-old child, I said anti-government things to him in elementary school when I was a 10-year-old child, and that one person got the entire class caught. All those people from that class that were enviously making up things about me just to make sure my brain savant could not get freed were all lying, and this one person in the end who was fabricating got them all caught. How do you know this one person got them all caught? Due to the fact that the entire incident occurred in a period of one day. I only had one day, and even in that one day, I had a couple minutes, since you cannot talk to each other in class in elementary school. And in elementary school, you're not allowed to be there too early. And you can't be there too early because then you get in trouble. They don't want kids there too early in school. And as soon as class starts, you cannot talk in class. And everything happened in one day's time period before even lunch occurred. Before even lunch, I got into trouble, which means that I did not have time to talk to everyone in that class, which means that these people were obviously lying, since after that day I got into so much trouble that I never talked about it ever again. What are the chances that I talked to every single person in that class for 30 minutes, and then they, for that one day, and then they remembered single thing 25 years later? Obviously they were lying. It's not possible. Yeah, everything occurred before lunch in one day, in one day's time period. Obviously they were lying. And that one person in the end that law enforcement told to say that 25 years ago, when we were both 10-year-old children in elementary school, I said anti-government things to him, he got them all caught, because every single thing that he said, with the facts and evidences showed, were fully fabricated. Same thing in my overseas pharmacy school. The one person came first before these group of people. So that one person, that pharmacy in my overseas pharmacy school, that same person in overseas law enforcement that gets money every month went to, he got everyone else caught, because he testified first, saying that with this group chat false testimony that I gave it to him and then he gave it to law enforcement. Completely false, fabricated. He never had this. I never had this. Law enforcement fully fabricated it. And that person in law enforcement overseas that gets the money every month, whom I'm telling the government to end this, stop his unemployment disability money going over there, he basically whispered into that student's ears, all you have to say is, you gave it to me, whatever I'm going to say, Hassan gave to you, all you have to say is, you gave it to me. And that person in overseas pharmacy school understood this. That's how they fabricated the group chat false testimony. They had to do this since they were being watched. Every country in the world was watching over them very closely. But even those countries in the world fully found out that completely fabricated. It was the internet is fully, it's mapped out. And when they were doing this group chat false testimony, the first country that figured it out that it was false was Russia. And I know this for a fact because they would send this to me on my YouTube. It would say group chat got leaked. And right after, like, Russian intelligence would put a video of President Putin laughing right after that video. So it would say on YouTube, it would say group chat got leaked, to try to harass me that they made a group chat false testimony against me. And then Russian intelligence would put a video on YouTube right after that video of President Putin laughing, basically saying, don't worry, we got this taken care of. You could laugh about this with us. We got this taken care of, sort of thing. It was that sort of thing. And yep, that's what it was. So I'm going to make another video about the other things, about what Fur the Greedy Framer has been sending me for her daughter lately and stuff like that.